Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the ISDT Q6 Nano. This one caught my eye for a couple of reasons. First of all, at the making of this video it costs just around $30, which I think is the cheapest price I've ever seen an ISDT charger listed as. I think the charger above this one is at least double the price, and I've been using ISDT chargers exclusively for a couple of years without a single problem. And second of all, I've been on the lookout for a new field charger because, well, I haven't exactly taken much care of this one, which is the now discontinued ISDT SC608, because I didn't think I would use it. But I've joined 2 flying clubs in the last couple of years, and it turns out I use it a lot, and it still works as well despite it being beat up. But if I end up switching to the Q6 Nano, I'm definitely going to design a 3D printed storage box for it. Now, I was looking at the Toolkit M6 because it has something that the Q6 Nano doesn't, which is a USB out so that I can charge my phone in the field as well. But I've seen a lot of reported software glitches with them, so if any of you guys in the comments have one, then I'd love to know your experience with it. Because it's a similar price to the Q6 Nano. Just like all ISDT chargers, it doesn't feel or look cheap even though it is. You can get it in 3 different colours if you're into that sort of thing, and there are some upgrades from my aging SC608. First of all, I like that the fan comes out of the side rather than underneath. So if you are out in the field and charging your LiPos, it's not chewing grass when it's trying to cool the device down. The fan also isn't covered up if it's on the side. It can charge from 1 to 6S LiPos and has a max power output of 200 watts with a charge current up to 8 amps, which isn't up there with the most expensive chargers, but for my needs it doesn't need to be, and it's also what makes it small. You see, I usually end up taking too many LiPos to the field with me, but ever since I switched to 6S LiPos last year, I find myself sometimes running out because I don't have as many of them. So I charge around 5 LiPos at home, and if it's looking like I'm going to be able to get some more flights in, I plug a large 4S battery in one end and charge up the first LiPo that I flew in the other end because it's had time to cool down. And that's how I use field chargers. Another upgrade is that it can output DC power, which you can select up to 30 volts. So I suppose technically you could make up an XT60 to USB cable and charge your phone that way, but I usually end up using this little Eachine Tiny Whoop charger to do that. There's also a USB port for updating the firmware this time, rather than the phono adapter that you had to buy for the last one. But unfortunately, there are a couple of downgrades in my opinion. First of all, the screen is a lot smaller, so I have to do a bit of squinting when using it outside. They've done away with the rocker dial and gone for a joystick style push button, which if you have clumsy hands like myself, then trying to press the button in the middle often ends up pressing the top or bottom button instead. But in the grand scheme of things, I guess they've done it because it's less likely to break. And with it being such a low price for an ISDT product, I'm definitely going to give it a good go. It works the same as all the other ISDT chargers, so you either plug in a big LiPo where it says DC in, or use a dedicated power supply. But personally, I see this as a field charger, so I'll just be powering it up with a LiPo. Then the other XT60 is where you plug in your battery to be charged. The connector is slightly orange because ISDT is still supporting the BATGO technology, even though there's only a couple of companies selling BATGO LiPos, and they cost an absolute fortune. So if you are charging a normal LiPo, you will need to plug in the balance port. Something that I love about the ISDT chargers is that they automatically detect the number of cells to be charged when you plug your LiPo in, which saves time. On the main screen you can see the individual cell voltages, and if you scroll down you can see things like the input voltage and temperature. Then it's a short press of the button in the middle, if you can get it right, where you can scroll to the top and select between charge, discharge, storage charge, DC power, and destroy. I've never really understood the need for the discharge function when there is a storage option. I do sometimes use the storage function in the field if I've let a LiPo's voltage drop too low in a flight to try and save it. But if you are storage discharging, then the ISDT Q6 Nano will do it very slowly at around 0.6 amps. So if you want to learn how to quickly storage discharge your LiPos, then have a search for the ISDT FD200 on the channel. The destroy option will discharge your LiPo to 0 volts, and it'll take a long time to do that as well. But I just take my damaged LiPos to the recycling centres as they are, and they seem to accept them. So to charge this LiPo, I need to set the charge option up the top, and then under chemistry, I need to select LiPo, although you can see all of the important battery options for the hobby are also supported. You can change the condition to over or under charge, but 4.2 volts per cell is the safest and best for your LiPo. It's detected the number of cells itself, but you can go in there and select them as well. And you can charge all the way up to 8 amps, but be aware that fast charging a LiPo will make it degrade quicker. It's a difficult decision in the field because charging at 1C can take a long time. Then you just press start and the LiPo will charge. A nice little feature ISDT chargers have is that you can change the current as it's charging, and if I stop the charge, you can long press that button in the center if you get it right, and you have all of the usual settings that all ISDT chargers have. The most important one for me is turning the beep off every time the button is pressed, because I find it really annoying. So there you go, that is my take on the ISDT Q6 Nano. One of my flying fields should be opening very soon, so I'll get to test it out. It's just that fiddly button, the smaller screen, and the lack of USB out, which are my concerns. But I know that ISDT chargers last, even if you don't look after them. And with that low price, it's definitely one to consider. I'll put a link in the video description as well as a pinned comment if you wish to buy one. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.